Have you ever heard of rich kids going on volunteering trips abroad and wondered, are they helping or is it all just for show? Many of these trips, often called voluntourism, promise life-changing experiences for the volunteers and meaningful help for the communities. But behind the pictures and stories lies a darker reality. Let's uncover the truth about the dark side of rich kids volunteering abroad. What is voluntourism? Voluntourism is a mix of volunteering and tourism. It's an industry that lets wealthier people, especially teenagers and young adults, travel to poor or struggling communities to help. These trips often promise to change lives, both for the volunteers and the people they meet. The idea is that you can spend a few weeks building schools, teaching kids, or working at an orphanage, and in return, you gain new experiences and feel good about making a difference. But the reality isn't as simple as it sounds. Many volunteers are untrained and unprepared for the work they're supposed to do. They pay thousands of dollars for these trips, but only a tiny fraction of the money helps the communities. Instead of solving problems, voluntourism can create more harm than good, leaving the communities worse off than before. The business behind voluntourism. Voluntourism is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Companies and organizations sell these trips with promises of adventure and altruism. They market the trips as ways to change the world while exploring exotic destinations. Volunteers believe they are paying for projects like building a library or helping children in orphanages. But most of the money goes to the organizations running the trips, not to the communities in need. For example, in some orphanages, the directors make money by keeping children in poor conditions. Kids might sleep on old broken beds or have only beans and rice to eat, even though donations could provide much more. Why? Because if the children appear well cared for, volunteers might not feel the need to donate more money or bring extra supplies. This creates a vicious cycle where the focus shifts to keeping appearances rather than making genuine improvements for the children. This system creates a cycle where the focus is on attracting volunteers rather than improving the lives of the children. The orphanages, and even some schools, end up treating the children like props in a show meant to tug at the hearts of foreign visitors. The promise of helping communities becomes a marketing ploy, leaving behind a trail of unfinished projects and unmet needs. Children as a commodity. One of the most shocking aspects of voluntourism is how it treats children. In some orphanages, the children are not even orphans. Research shows that up to 80% of children living in orphanages have at least one living parent. These children are often placed in orphanages because their families are promised a better future for them or because the orphanages profit from hosting volunteers. In some cases, children are coached to behave in ways that make them seem more vulnerable. They might be told to act sad or rub dirt on their faces when volunteers arrive. This manipulation is meant to make the volunteers feel needed and more likely to donate money or supplies. It's a heartbreaking reality where the children are used as tools in a business model. This reduces children's dignity, turning them into objects of pity rather than individuals with potential. The exploitation doesn't stop there. Stories have emerged of children being physically or emotionally mistreated in orphanages. In the worst cases, there is a connection between orphanages and child trafficking, with predators using the guise of volunteering to harm children. These issues reveal the dark underbelly of an industry that thrives on the good intentions of volunteers, but often fails to protect the vulnerable lives it claims to support. Unqualified volunteers. Many voluntourism trips involve tasks like building schools, teaching, or working with vulnerable children. However, most volunteers are unqualified for these roles. Imagine a teenager who has never done construction work trying to build a library. In one example, local workers had to secretly undo and redo the work done by volunteers to ensure the building was safe. This lack of experience doesn't just waste time and resources. It can also be dangerous. In classrooms, untrained volunteers often teach lessons without understanding the language, culture, or educational needs of the students. In orphanages, they may interact with children who are dealing with trauma or serious health issues without any training in childcare or counseling. Instead of helping, these well-meaning but untrained volunteers often make the situation worse. The communities end up relying on temporary help that doesn't address their long-term needs, leaving them stuck in the same cycle of dependency. The volunteer's perspective. Many young people join voluntourism trips with good intentions. They want to help others, explore new cultures, and make a difference in the world. Some are also motivated by how the experience looks on college applications or resumes. They believe these trips will make them stand out as compassionate and socially responsible individuals. But what often happens is that these trips become more about the volunteers than the communities they're supposed to help. The volunteers take photos with the children, post about their experiences on social media, and return home feeling like heroes. Meanwhile, the communities are left with unfinished projects, disrupted routines, and little lasting support. For many volunteers, the experience is life-changing, but not in the way they expect. Some come to realize that their presence may have done more harm than good. This realization can be a tough lesson, but it's an important step in understanding how to truly help those in need. Harmful cultural impact. Voluntourism can also harm the cultures and communities it claims to support. Many volunteers come from wealthier, predominantly white countries, and the power dynamics in these interactions can reinforce harmful stereotypes. For instance, volunteers might assume that local people are lazy or incapable because they rely on outside help. This mindset ignores the systemic issues that create poverty and inequality. In some cases, volunteers impose their values and beliefs on the communities they visit. For example, a volunteer might encourage someone to live openly in a way that aligns with their morals, but puts the individual at risk in their community. These actions, though well-intentioned, can have serious consequences for the people they are meant to help. The constant influx of foreign volunteers can also disrupt local traditions and routines. Children in orphanages, for example, may become emotionally attached to volunteers who leave after a few weeks, leading to feelings of abandonment. This cycle of temporary relationships can be deeply damaging for vulnerable children. The false promise of long-term change. One of the biggest problems with voluntourism is the promise of long-term change. Many projects, like building schools or teaching English, sound like they will have a lasting impact. But without proper planning and resources, these efforts often fail to make a difference. For instance, a group of volunteers might build part of a school during their trip, only for the project to remain unfinished because there's no funding or expertise to complete it. Similarly, teaching English for a few weeks doesn't provide children with the skills they need to succeed. Real change requires consistent effort, local leadership, and a deep understanding of the community's needs. Voluntourism often focuses on short-term experiences that make volunteers feel good rather than addressing the root causes of poverty and inequality. To create real change, it's essential to empower local communities and support sustainable solutions. How to help the right way. Helping others is a noble goal, but it's important to do it the right way. Instead of voluntourism, consider supporting organizations that work directly with communities. These groups often employ local people, understand the unique challenges of the area, and focus on long-term solutions. If you want to make a difference, start by educating yourself about the issues and listening to the voices of the people you want to help. Donate to trusted organizations, volunteer your skills locally, or advocate for policies that address systemic problems. True change takes time, commitment, and collaboration. By shifting the focus from feel-good experiences to meaningful action, we can create a world where helping others truly makes a difference. If this video opened your eyes to the realities of voluntourism, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Let's spread awareness and work together to support real solutions for global challenges. See you in the next video.